Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closure Show. I am Scott Carson, coming to you live from the depths of hell in Las Vegas, Nevada. This morning, we're excited to have a very special guest on here who has just an interesting story, and I think you're going to love this with what he's got to share for you. He's a best-selling author in personal finance and money thinking, host of the Transformation Nation podcast, owner of 30-plus companies, and founder of his own martial art, Yokido. Our guest, Damion Lupo, outrightly rejects regret and speaks to it as the ultimate life failure. He has a unique approach to living a fulfilled life by breaking rules and making more mistakes faster than the competition. His key to success. Playing by a different set of rules, he even bought his first rental house with a visa, a move that snowballed into owning 150 rental houses in 7 states in less than 5 years. And in 2008, he lost the entire $20 million, but recreated his wealth and reinvented his life over 4 transformational years. Today, he leads 3 global companies with one unified mission to free people from money bondage. Good morning, Damion, man. How's it going from the other depths of hell in Phoenix?
Yeah, good morning, Scott. It is, the question is, who's in a deeper state of hell right now? Because it is hot as a mofo here. It's crazy.
Yeah, and you're wearing the very stylish sweater, the Patagonia sweater this morning to go along with it, keep you nice and warm in the AC, right?
Well, I always like to have a fire going when it's 115 outside, and then I bundle up. It reminds me of home in Alaska, so it's kind of one of those things. It's nurturing.
There you go. Yeah, home in Alaska. What part of Alaska?
Right outside of Anchorage, right? Yeah, in humanity of Alaska, which is mostly not humanity or human, but that's where I grew
up. Good stuff. Well, what's great, man, is we met actually months ago at Podfest down in Orlando and just hit it off. A lot of things. It was funny. Brett Berkey from real estate hedge fund buddy of mine was there to visit with me, and was literally you know him, and it was just a great conversation, getting to talking about it, and we talked about having each other on these shows, and so we're excited. And then of course, what happens after an event? We get so busy, and then one of these dating coordinators for podcasters reaches out. I was like, oh yeah, we've been talking about doing this, which is phenomenal. So glad to have you on, man.
Yeah, it's good to be here. It's they have the car karaoke, and this is sort of like hotel bar karaoke. You just bump into people and you start singing some songs and connecting and bonding, and then you show up on an interview. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, we just won't have one of the Beatles showing up for no, not at all. So let's dive in a little bit. So why don't you share, man? 20 million in assets and then losing it like a lot of people did during the downturn. That's got to be a really positive experience in your life. Now you look back at it and realizing that you really can overcome just about anything, right, man?
Did you just say a lot of people? Because I felt like I was the only one. That was the scary part, man. Like, there were actually a lot of people that melted down with many, many millions. But at the time when you do it, especially on that ride, because I started off 20 years old and I went and did all these deals, made all this money, thought I was the shit, basically, I was it. And then built up this thing and blew it up because my ego took over. And I was like a lot of other people. I thought I was invincible and bulletproof. So the problem was I didn't really have the foundation, and I didn't really have smart people that I kept around me. They were there in the beginning, and then I got too smart for them. So I said, I don't need anybody. I'm too smart for you people. And ultimately, the universe ran over me with a freight train and said, no, your ego needs to be put in check. So that's where everything went away. And I went, oh, okay, redo, start over, timeout box. And I had to really figure out what I was doing and why, because it was just about the money. The problem with just about the money, if it's just about the money, there's nothing else, it's never enough. You'll literally kill yourself in the process, and you'll turn into a monster because you'll just feed. It's like having a parasite in your system. Right. And money is just an accelerator of who you are. We've all heard this. And I just didn't know who I was. So I was basically adapting to whatever came at me. And so if somebody had a big idea, I'm like, I can do that. Let me go do another one of those. I'll do 100 of those. I can 10x the shit out of this. This is like the Grant Cardone before Grant Cardone was Grant Cardone. Like, I was going for it, right? And so that's kind of what happened. I had to start over in 2008 and reinvent my entire self.
Yeah. I know a lot of people. We bought a lot of debt from people that were like that, in 2008 through 2010. So thank you. I appreciate it. You helped to.
Yeah, you're welcome, man.
So, but let's talk about that. So a lot of people out there that watch this, we have people that are, obviously that are active real estate investors or looking to dive into things, and they're like, well, scared to take that plunge. Well, you not only took the plunge, you went from Mount Everest into the bottom of the ocean and had to kind of resurface back up. So why don't you, if you don't mind sharing some of the things that you did to kind of pull your head out of your ass, which we all do when we get in a down point, to kind of pull yourself out of the valley to get up to where you're at today?
Well, when I jumped off the Himalayas and Mount Everest into the ocean, I didn't just jump. I put a rocket on my ass and launched myself faster. It wasn't just 140 terminal velocity miles an hour. It was like 3 million miles an hour. And that was the thing. I was accelerating myself with all of the BS that I was being fed, because you'll sort of just, it's a self-perpetuating prophecy that you are the best. And you look for things to tell you that you're the best. So I had to ask a different question. I mean, the way I got out of that thing was to take off the rocket, sit there and say, okay, what's really true? And what's true is I didn't have anything guiding me. So I had to really figure out what was going to guide me going forward, because I knew I didn't want to do that again. I didn't want to give you an opportunity to buy more of my bad assets. So I needed a different plan where I could actually keep some assets and have something that really mattered, because I didn't want to wake up one day and, go look back and go, wow, okay, like Felix Dennis. I mean, a guy that I have a lot of respect for, died recently, and he made a lot of money, but I think he was kind of a lost soul. He's the founder of Maxim magazine, and that's where I was heading. So asking the question, what is true? Well, what's true is I need to figure out what my values are, and what mission am I going to be on? Like, what is my life going to be about? Is it just about more houses, more notes? Is that it? Because I mean, how many notes can you buy, and how much king crab can you eat? Because that was kind of my thing. How much king crab can I eat? How much wine can I drink? And I started asking a question like, what am I here for? And the answer was, I'm here to free people from financial bondage. You did that. It's because most people have financial bondage and they have no idea how to get out. And so the work you're doing with notes and teaching, that's part of this breaking that financial bondage. It's getting people out of that stuff so they can actually live, versus being zombies, part of the system where we're stuck. So that's shifting into that. The interesting thing is that money starts to become a side effect when you start doing good and really working towards impacting other people and freeing them. The money does happen. I'm not taking up basket weaving and becoming really good at it. I'm really doing something to impact other people in a positive way. And that's what changed everything. It wasn't just about more assets.
So let's talk about that. What became your why? Was it starting to help coach people and teach people through their finances, or help them break the chains?
Well, the underlying trigger, there's usually a trigger that hits us. And this happened with me 4 years ago when I was sitting there with my dad a few weeks before he died. And he looked at me and he was stage 4, and he said, there were just so many things that I wanted to do. And I went, God. And I mean, I died. I mean, I broke down. I was crying, and I thought, what I just saw? I just felt, I experienced regret. That's why it's such a big deal to me, because regret is the ultimate life failure. When you look back and you go, oh, I wish I had done that. You don't have any more time left when you're stage 4 and they say you got weeks and your organs are shutting down. So I said, okay, well, what can I do? I can help other people get out of that trajectory towards regret. And part of that is it's releasing the financial bondage. And it's not about giving somebody cash or an asset. It's about the confidence that they can go do it. Because if you have the confidence, you got the muscle, man, you're free, because it can all be taken away. Like in 2008, take it all away, which they did. And then I have some confidence that I rekindled after I curled up in a ball for a while. But I came back out and I said, okay, you know what? I know how to do this. So you can take all my money away, but I'm still free because I can go create again. And that's what it's all about. It's empowering people to have that strength and confidence to go do their thing. It's not giving them something. It's literally teaching them to be really, really muscular fishermen.
That's true. It's all about teaching a man how to fish versus giving him a fish, right?
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of what our system teaches. It's just, hey, here's the entitlement, or just trust us, give us your money, and go away and come back in 40 years, which is a great strategy if you're going to smoke a bunch of hopium. I mean, that wake up at 60 and you're not rich, you're just old. And I mean, that's a terrible plan. So you've got to be able to take responsibility, which is the core. And then you look for people that can help empower you and teach you, like what we do. I mean, we spend all this time empowering people. And I think that's a gift. And that's one of the reasons that we are put on this planet, to help other people and give them strength with tools and ideas.
Yeah, that's the truth. So what's one of the biggest things that you like teaching? Or maybe let's take it back a little bit. What do you think is the biggest misconception when you're sitting down with people and getting them rock and roll? What's the biggest misconception? I love the 40-year hopium plan. That's smoking hopium. We're going to have to hashtag smoking hopium on the screen there for everybody. Just great. I'm going to use that. I'm going to give you credit for it 3 times. All right. And then I'm just going to say it's my own. All right.
Is that how it works? It's like 3 and then you take it? Oh, right.
Yeah, it's exactly how it works, man. That's exactly how it works.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. What was the question? I totally.
No, it's okay. Yeah, we got sidetracked there we got high. What's probably the biggest misconception that people have when you're talking with them or getting them helping them get on the right track, the right path?
This is the easiest one. It's why my dad said what he did. It's because we're afraid of making a mistake. We're afraid of the judgment. We're trained to not make mistakes as kids. We go to school and they say, if you get 5 wrong out of 10, you're a failure. Dude, if you get 5 wrong out of 10 in the real life, in the real world, you're a billionaire. Like, it's amazing. So it's breaking that idea that failure is somehow a noun. It's a verb. It's an effect. I mean, the thing that I say is that I would look back and tell myself, if I could go back and say, fail faster, learn faster, because you're going to learn by scraping your knee. Like, you can't learn riding a bike by looking at the bike, reading a book about the bike. You get on the damn bike. So that's the entire process. It's fail as fast as possible, go make mistakes, and get around people that support it. Because what's the problem is we're around all these people and we're afraid of their judgment, because they're not saying, you know what, you're not failing fast enough. They're saying, ooh, if you get hurt, that's going to look bad. So we tend to not want to do things that are going to make us uncomfortable. So we stay static. So I have to break people out of that and give them little ideas and little activities, because you got to be in motion. I mean, we're human beings. We're not human like sittings. So, you got to be in motion doing stuff. And that's the biggest problem people have, is they're afraid of making mistakes.
Yeah, we see that a lot too. They're afraid they're going to get out there and fall flat in their face, and you're going to learn more about falling flat in your face or getting punched in the jaw, or learning more. And that's the thing. You deal with people. I deal with people all the time that are just sitting there, get so used to sitting in their comfort zone. Showing up to the job and then taking the 2 weeks a year, or oh yeah, let's live for the weekend. I'm like, no, go out, do something. And hey, if you work on the weekend, great. If you're working more than 40 hours towards a passion, hey, great. You're actually going out and achieving things, but you work so hard to accomplish those things. You end up living a life that most people only dream about, because you did take the time to learn from your mistakes and realize, hey, it's not really that bad to goof up or mess up, right?
That's it. I mean, you got to be willing to pay a price. I mean, you're going to pay a price one way or another. You're going to pay the price of discipline now, or you're going to pay the price of regret later. You choose. But one is a default if you don't make the choice today, and the default is hell on earth. I mean, that's truly the worst possible scenario. So, the question is, are you going to pay the price? Are you going to step up and you're going to say, I'm willing to go trip on my thing and step on it a little bit? And that's okay. And a big part of this is who you're surrounding yourself with. I mean, I kind of alluded to it, but it's like when I started, I didn't have any friends. I mean, because everybody's looking at me going, why'd you drop out of college? And so I said, all right, well, I'm going to hang out with people that understand me. Their names were Tony Robbins and Jim Rohn, and I listened to them on tapes, and they were my friends, even though they were this big. They were 3-inch friends, but they literally were the people that I hung out with. And so that was my influence. And if you can't find people in 3D that will influence you and support you, just listen to these podcasts over and over and surround yourself, because you'll start to become that stuff. And that's what will help shift you into a place where you're doing something, versus sitting there and just listening to all the BS that your friends and family are constantly pouring into you.
Oh my gosh, it's totally about you're an average of the 5 people you surround yourself with the most. If you're surrounding yourself with good podcasts and books and audiobooks, I burned out so many damn books. I think I burned out some DVDs or CDs, listening to them over and over and over again around the same time, 2008, 2009, when I went through a rough spot as well too. So that's great advice. Also, don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of Gary Vaynerchuk and a little bit of Grant Cardone, but at some point you have to stop listening and start taking action. Wouldn't you agree to that? Because so many people spend so much time listening to everything. I'm like, listen, okay, time to quit listening, and it's time to start taking action. How critical is that to what you're sharing?
I can't even tell you how many times I spent over $1 million, real money. This is not made up, over $1 million on seminars and mentors from 2000 to 2010. I mean, a ton. One guy in particular, I spent $400,000 on. One guy, $10,000 a month, plus his seminars at his castle in Europe. So the funniest part was I'd go to these seminars and I'd see a lot of the same people. We all do. It's like these seminar addicts, and they go there. And so the question is, so what are you up to? And they go, well, I'm looking at deals. And really, have you done some? Yeah, I'm doing about 5 to 8 a month. And I go, really? How many you done? Well, I got like about 5 or 6 in escrow, or thinking about it, or I've seen them, or at least I've thought about 5 or 6. And what happens is these people go to the safety of just being at events and they don't actually do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny to me. I can always tell somebody that's just full of crap as soon as they say I'm doing 5 to 8 or 5 to 10. There's like this magical, mythical number. And what I'm always interested in, hey, so tell me the one deal that you've done in the last year. Let's talk about that one deal. Tell me all the cool stuff that you screwed up on that thing. That's what's exciting to me. I don't care about 5 to 8 deals a month because in all likelihood, you haven't done a single deal yet.
Mm-hmm. That's the truth, man. Oh, I'm making some offers, or I'm going to be out being a guest expert, and I'm like, okay, how many deals did you close this month? Oh, I haven't made any offers. I haven't done anything, and I'm like, oh, you're not getting anywhere, man. But you're too many people believe the bullshit that they tell themselves, and I'm like, come on, man, quit scratching that itch, quit showing up, and start doing something.
You know what I think the problem, one of the problems, there's a lot of problems. One of the problems is people they've watched The Secret too many times. They think if I just will it, then the notes will fall out of the sky and hit me in the head and all that cash will just come flying out of the ATM. I don't have to do anything. I can just think it. Yeah, dude, hello. You know, it doesn't work that way. It's called the law of awareness, meaning it's right next to you, but you got to go move to get it. It's not necessarily right in front of you. It's off to the left and the right, but you got to be open. You got to be able to see it, and then you got to move over to it, and you got to take it. But you got to move.
Mm-hmm. The secret to success is not just watching The Secret. So, tell me about some of the companies that you own. You found, and I'm so interested in you founding Yokido. We'll get to that in a minute because I got some great friends that are in martial arts. But what's the different type of companies you've purchased here recently, or owning and running in different areas? And how do they show up on your radar? You work with people and that you buy into those things, or how's that working for you?
Usually what I'm doing is I'm looking for the people. When I first started investing in companies and setting things up, especially when I was investing in the idea and the product. This is before Marcus Lemonis, the 3 Ps, people, process, product. And I did not understand people and process were more important than the product. So I got excited. So like I invested in a restaurant because I loved their muffins. That cost me $100,000. I invested in a car company that did high-end cars. I had a Ferrari. I decided one wasn't enough. So I'm going to go get into a car company. I threw out $40,000 right before the recession in 2008. Goodbye $40,000, goodbye cars. You know, I did all these different things. And what I realize now is it's the people and the process. So I'm looking at the people, and then I'm looking to see if they have a process. So I am deeply embedded with people, and I don't really care if their deal works because I'm embedded with them in the relationship for the next 10 or 20 years. It's the 5th deal we do together. It's not the deal that I'm investing in now. So I'm mostly looking for those type of deals. It's easy to have a pitch, but it's hard to have a mission. It's hard to have a commitment, and it's hard to have the integrity that I'm willing to invest in, because that's what I'm looking for. So I'm still looking, but it's like any other deal, real estate or otherwise. I look at 100 before I invest in one. And it's because most of them are dog shit. I mean, that's just how it is. So your product doesn't really matter. It's worth about 3% of the deal. And it's who's going to execute. It's all about the people executing. And then the major focus I have is focusing on people's retirement accounts, because there's literally $26 trillion sitting in these things, and people are stuck. They're just hoping. Again, they're smoking all this magical hopium, riding their unicorn towards retirement, and they think, oh, Wall Street told me it'll all work out. Yeah, right. Give me a break. So I'm teaching people how to take control of their retirement money, their IRAs, their 401ks, so that they have a checkbook. And this is not a self-directed IRA. This is literally a checkbook where you're in control completely. And you're opting out of the tax system. So you can buy notes, you can buy businesses, you can buy real estate, you can buy crypto, you can buy gold, all these things, and you own it. So guess who this is not for? It's not for people that are reckless. It's not for people that aren't responsible. It's not for the Fox News, MSNBC, CNN watchers that are watching the bubblehead people telling them what to do. Like, this is not for you. But if you want a different life, if you're the type of person listening to this, like if you've lasted this long in this show, this is probably something you should know about, because it really does give you control and power over your retirement. And that's what I'm obsessed with. I don't want to see people living with that regret. And if you don't control your retirement, if you don't design it and create it, you're going to be in a state of despair and regret for many, many years, and probably the last years of your life. And that's kind of pathetic and sad. So that's my mission, to break that. That's my entire focus with that company.
You know, one of the biggest things when you talked about your father and sitting there with regret, I went through a very similar thing over 10 years ago that has helped really kind of guide me. Like, I don't want to live regrets. I'll create memories. I'm going to do things that I want to do and just go out and do them, or find a way to get them done by surrounding yourself with good people and make it happen. You're doing the same thing with that, which is awesome. Talking about 401ks, IRAs, and stuff like that. People have to have a plan for where they want to go, right? And I'm sure you're sitting down and helping people design kind of their plans. What do they want their life to look like? What are they looking to bring in, and how to identify those opportunities in the market, right?
Yeah, it's funny because I was talking with Robert Kiyosaki on a cruise we were on, and we were teaching at a few months ago, and he says the same thing, and I laugh every time I hear him say it, because I'm like, yeah, why don't people get this? And people go up to him all the time because he's this massive global celebrity, and they say, I've got $10,000. What should I invest in? He's like, how the hell would I know? I don't know what your plan is. What's your plan? They go, no, I don't need a plan. I just need you to tell me what to invest in. Man, I don't know what you should invest in. I don't know what your plan is. So you're right. That is the first thing, figuring out what the plan is. Like, what is that vision? And then what's the plan? And then the tools, which are the investments. And it might be notes. It might be, you don't know until you actually have a plan. You have to figure out where you're going, what it's going to take. I'll tell you a funny story. A guy came up to me about 8 months ago, and he called me and he said, I want to do a consult for this QRP, this retirement thing. And I said, great, get on the phone. 2 minutes into it, he's telling me how he needs to make more money. He's only got $5 million in the bank and he hates his job. And I said, wait a second, what are you talking about? He goes, I need to figure out how to make more money and I'm stuck. And I said, how are you stuck? It was in his head. He didn't have a clear understanding that he'd already built the assets. It was in his brain. He didn't need to go work harder. He needed to stop and look and see what was right in front of him. His awareness was totally shunted by his motion to be a little money bee. He was just out there chasing money. That was nonstop. That was his thing. That was his plan. He needed somebody to shake him loose of his plan and redraw the plan. And that's a lot of times what people need is someone else. We don't see it because we're too close to it. So having somebody else that you can trust and respect enough to give you feedback and that you'll do something with, instead of going, yeah, thanks for that, but I know better. You know what? That's why I don't talk to most people, because they'll waste my time. And I will give my time to people if they'll listen to it, because I have no skin in that thing. I have no dog in that fight. I just want to see them do well. But most people are too addicted to their own crap, and they're defending their ego and the choices they've already made. So that's what you've got to be willing to do. Be humble and let go of your ego.
Yeah, when you have $5 million in the bank and then you're complaining about your job, you're the problem. Because with that, you could instantly quit what you're doing to go do something you're going to enjoy, right?
Yeah, but the problem is you go, well, but I'm making $700,000 a year. And there's an addiction. I see this as people move up in terms of their professions. You've seen this too. You watch people, and the more they make, the more addicted they are, and they can't let go because they go, it's like the lawyer fallacy, where you're always having to work, because if you do anything other than work, every minute costs you $5, $10. And so you're addicted to this thing and you give your life up for it. You've put yourself in shackles. That's crazy.
Your own indentured servitude, right?
Absolutely. That's what it is.
Yeah. That's crazy out there. And we got if you guys have questions for Damion, now is a good time to post those in the comments here so we can make sure and get those answered. If you're listening out there in iTunes or Stitcher on the replay on this, trust me, we'll make sure and get Damion's information for you so you can connect with him and follow up with him as well. I got some good mornings from people in Colorado. Shannon Flint says hi. Good morning, Shannon. You got a fan already. Patrick Catcher says, this guy is good.
Patrick, there's like a high five right there for you, buddy.
That's right, exactly. So it was funny. Is last night I did a webinar. I do a webinar every Monday night called the Note Night in America. We talked a little about the profit, Marcus Lemoyne's, and then also the difference in your profits and your passions, and connecting the two, being focused on profits. Because Marcus, I had a chance to spend some time with him and talk with him a few years ago, and he talked about how entrepreneurs, they don't get so sucked into the passion. If the ship is going down, they don't go down with the ship. They say, okay, boom, let's move on. Let's cut, let's cut our losses and bounce to something else, and then something else. And that way, when they have losses, they're not as extreme as those that ride the ship down and kill everything. Destroy. They bounce. It's minimal losses as they move from asset to asset or business to business. I think you'd agree with the same thing, huh?
Well, the question is, how do you know? And how do you know when you're on your first ship that's taken on water? Back in the early 2000s, I was with a group of people in Austin, where you're from, and we were in this mentoring program, and this guy gray-haired guy, 55 years old, says, look, you guys, you're all making a ton of money. You're all making hundreds of thousands of dollars. At the time, I was making like hundreds of thousands a week. And I remember going, okay, you know what? Tell me what you know, but I know pretty good because, you know, you lost all your money. You lost $100 million, but I haven't lost $100 million, so I must be smarter than you. Like, this is what happens when you're 25 and you have millions in the bank. So I remember him saying, you guys, trust me, take some of your stuff off the table because cycles happen. And when they happen, you're going to get flattened because of your ego, because this is your first go round. And we're like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. A few years later, we're all over there sucking our thumb in the corner in a fetal position going, what happened? And it was because we didn't listen to him because it was our first go round. And that's the value of having people that have been through cycles. It's the danger in having people managing funds that are 25 years old that have not been through a cycle. They don't get it. And most people on Wall Street are in their 20s. They have no clue what's going on because they haven't been through a correction from 2008 or 2000 or 2001 or 97. So here's the point of all that. When you're starting out, you don't know what you don't know. You've got to have people that have been around for a while that are there that can help you see what you can't see, so that when that ship's going down, they will say, look, this one's going down. Get off this thing so you can build something again. Because if you go down with this thing, your game is over. Just understand that you won't see it because you're too close and it's your first time. I can tell you, I smell things in advance now because it's baked into my DNA.
Let's talk about the smell factor. I've been preaching that we're going to see another downturn here relatively soon. What's your thoughts on where the market's at, where it's going, whether it's the housing market or our big what our 20% of the market loss that happened this week with Mr. Marky Z and the boys?
Yeah, here's what people think. They think it's different this time. How many times have we heard this? That's different this time. It's because we've got derivatives. It's because the tech, because .com, remember dogfood.com when this was like $100 billion company or whatever it was? And it was different because the internet, yeah, it was $100 billion loss. Here's where we're at. Everything is in a bubble. There really isn't anything that's not in a bubble. I think the only thing that's been kind of squashed for about the last 5-6 years is gold and silver. It's just been sort of stalled. But everything else has been pumped up by all this cash floating around and all this foreign investment. There's a ton of money. I mean, billions and billions coming over from China that's pumping up everything, equity markets, real estate markets. It used to be coastal. It was like the West Coast and Florida. It was Russia. It was Venezuela money coming up. And now you see it in Nebraska and freaking Topeka. There's stuff being pushed up and it doesn't make any sense. You also see from the tax cut that all these companies have all this money that they're supposed to be putting into their people and expansion. What they're doing is they're buying their shares back. When they buy their shares back, all of a sudden their shares look good, but guess who benefits? CFOs, CEOs, people that have options. They make a ton of money. Eventually, all that extra cash that's been sitting is gone because it's been used up. We are in a place where we're going to have this run for a period of months. But my guess is, and Doug Duncan, the chief economist of Fannie Mae, and I were talking about this in Florida a few months ago, totally agree. It's coming. By next year, we are going to be in a recession. And if you're not prepared for that, you're going to get crushed. And you can make a ton of money. Just be prepared. It doesn't mean you have to be in hiding. Like my dad was a hoarder and waiting for the apocalypse. It's going to come, I think. It's a cycle. But you don't just spend all your time fixated, obsessed. You just get prepared, and then you go out and you do your thing. And that way, when it happens, you're like, okay, I'm ready. It's basically planning. It's like if you get attacked. I've done martial arts for 20 years. Instinctually, I know what I'm going to do if somebody comes at me with a knife or a gun, or I've got 10 people around me. I know how to line people up. I don't think about it because I've gone through the training, and that's what we need to be doing now, finding smart people that have been around and get trained and get ready so that you can totally take advantage, because that's where all the money gets made. It's like you made money off of me in 2008, inadvertently, because idiots like me were out there doing reckless things. Well, a lot of recklessness is happening now, and there's going to be an opportunity. You see this in apartments. You see the yields and the cap rates that don't make any damn sense, but there's so much money chasing stuff. It's not thinking money. It's dumb money. So get ready to feed off of the dumb money. Warren Buffett does the same thing. So you're not taking advantage of anything. You're just saying, hey, if people are going to be stupid in the market, I'll help them.
Exactly. I was teaching a class last weekend, and we flipped through and we're looking at mortgage companies and things like that with what we do, and literally pull up a list of there's a growing list of non-prime lenders out there that we don't call it subprime anymore. It's all non-prime, and that number is growing and growing and growing. And people are cracking up at me because like the hair standing up on the back of my neck is like, oh my God, this is an awesome list. And like, what are you talking? What is that? What do you mean, Scott? How is this an awesome list? I'm like, because when everything hits the fan, this is the first sign here. And when these idiots, these 20-year-olds that have replaced 50-year-olds who have retired, who took the golden parachutes and left, they've got to create these products that are going to be profitable in the market. And so it's all stupid money coming in, not smart money. It's all stupid money coming in trying to beat the competitor. Oh, it's all happening all over again like it did in 2007, 2008, 2009. And it's all about being prepared, like you say, seeing the signs, be prepared, and building a plan of action so that when it does hit, you can take advantage of the market, right?
Yeah, because you won't. If you don't have a plan, you won't take action. People, I hear this all the time. I'm going to wait until the prices come down. I'm like, really? So at what price are you going to buy? And they go, well, when it's lower. I go, how much lower? Because what happens is it's falling knives. You're not going to know if it's going to go lower. It's why depressions and why Bernanke was so scared of a depression that was based on deflation, because when prices are dropping, people's fear kicks in and they're afraid it's going to go lower. And so they hoard and they freeze and the prices just keep dropping. So that's what happens when we go into recession, and people aren't just going to naturally buy at the bottom. They're going to freeze until we bounce off a bottom and we launch, and they're going to miss it. So you've got to actually have a plan. And if you think you're going to go engage when things correct and you get a better deal, you're crazy. I heard people talking about that with Bitcoin when it was at 19,000. They said, you know what? I missed it. I'm going to wait for it to go down. I go, okay, to what? And they're like, better. And right now it's like 7,000, 8,000. I go, so like, what are you waiting for? Are you waiting for it to go to zero? Like you can say that, but it's a good way to psych ourselves out of reality and to allow ourselves not to take action, because we keep it very vague and we don't commit to anything. Commitment's where all the juice is. And that's where the plan comes into play, because it's right in front of you.
Right. And the plan of action is specific measurable goals that have a date on them as far as execution, right?
Yeah. And somebody else that can give you feedback like, hey, dude, you committed to this. What are you doing? Taking action. And you're like, because we'll do more for other people to be in it's a consistency thing. If you haven't read Influence by Robert Cialdini, it's a powerful factor. Yeah, it's amazing. It's if you make a commitment, you'll tend to stay with the commitment. So if you've got a mentor, a coach, an accountability partner, and you say, here's my commitment, and it's very, like you said, definitive, time bounded, it's specific, measurable, and you tell them you're going to do it, guess what? You're more likely to do it than if you just think about it. People say, oh, I've got a vision. I go, where is it? And they go, it's in my head. And I go, you don't have a vision. You have a daydream.
Yeah, that's good stuff there, everybody that's listening. That's great stuff there, Mr. Lupo.
How do you think I got so smart? Because I got really stupid for a long time. I mean, this is the truth. If anything sounds good, it's because I sounded stupid for so long, and because I made every mistake under the sun. And that's, truly, whether it's me or you or somebody else, find people that have just been beat up and get it because they've gone through it. You don't want somebody that goes, I get it because I read a book. I've got a PhD from Harvard. Who gives a crap about your academics, man? I want to know about your real world experience.
Yeah. Or I've never made a mistake. I'm perfect. Well, I don't want to surround myself with a,
Run.
Run. I was at an event a little while ago, and they had the guy from, not $1 Million Listing in New York, his other buddy over in LA. He's on a reality show. When he asked him who his mentor was or if he's made any mistakes, he's like, oh, I've never made mistakes. And it was just, I'm like, really? You just lost the entire audience because you got your head shoved so far up your ass. You're not coachable, or people don't want to be around that. People want to learn from people that have made mistakes, because then they're like, well, am I doing the right thing? Oh, yeah. Or no. Hey, don't do that, idiot. I did that, and that's how I screwed up. You need to do this or tweak this. And it's so valuable. But I'm sure it's also frustrating for you, too, because you've probably experienced this. How many people are taking your advice and running with it and doing the right things? Because I wish it was 100%. I wish it was 50% of people out there would do things. What's the percentage you think you see that people are actually taking your advice, heeding your instructions or your coaching, and actually going out and actually doing it?
It's if I see 1 in 100 people that actually do what I say and what I suggest, I'd be amazed. It's when people come to me nowadays, it's pretty reserved. Like, I literally have 2 people that I've been doing one-on-one work with over the last couple of years on purpose, because I don't want to waste my time. Most people they're not going to do it. My time is too precious, and I certainly don't need the money or the brain damage from people that are going to cause me stress, because they're going to say, yeah, I don't know about what you just said. I got a better idea. Like, great, then you don't need me because you already know everything. So people generally have to come in and say, I'm putting my ego aside and I want to do great. I want to live full on, and I need help because I don't know what I don't know. Those are the people that I actually get interested in working with. The rest of them, it's not even worth the time. Like I'll hear the story for about 5 minutes. I wish them well. And then I move on because they're not ready, because they're not humble enough to actually listen.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit. You got your transformation podcast, right?
Yeah.
Talk about it a little bit. You've had that for going for a while. And that's actually how we met, was at Podfest, which is great stuff, which you and I are sure are banging our heads because we see all these people that want to do something, but they've never even filled their first episode. But let's talk about your podcast a little bit. How do people get a hold of you there? How do they learn about what you're doing?
So the entire point of Transformation Nation, which the show is the financial transformation, because this one thing, and there's a lot of things that we need to work on in our lives, whether it's our health, our relationships, all that stuff. This is just fixated on financial transformation, and it's for people that want to understand what's really stopping them, and then ideas that they can actually do something with. So it's not just more information, because we live in a digital hoarding society where you can get unlimited information. There's 500,000, 1 million podcasts. You can spend all your time listening to podcasts. This is about boiling it down and having guys like you on there sharing what people can do to actually start financially transforming their lives. It's a nation of transformers. It's so that we're taking financial bondage out of the equation. I mean, imagine what happens when you take financial slavery off the table, where people are no longer asking the question. Like in America, I read this in, I think it was Ray Dalio's book, Principles, which if you haven't read it, you got to read it. He talks about how we don't think about, we don't think about eating. Like if we're hungry, we go eat. In most Americans, this is our thing. We don't think about it. Imagine what it's like when you have enough money to where if you want to go do something, whatever it is, you want to buy a car, you want to buy a house, you want to go on a trip, you just use your credit card or you go to the ATM and you never think twice, just like you don't think about eating. You don't go, ooh, should I eat today? You just do it. Take money out of the equation. What would your life look like? It's hard to imagine for most people because everything they freaking do is based on how much does it cost. I don't know if I can afford that. I got to wait for 20 years. So the idea here is to break that and to change society so that we're focusing on relationships, we're focusing on impact. I have an acronym for the human needs that I think are really the ones that are missed and the ones we should focus on, instead of just significance and security, which is what we focus on, the money and the shiny objects. The focus is on the peak life, which is the people, the relationships, the experiences that you have. Like I'm going to Africa Friday to see gorillas. That's an experience. I'm not waiting till I'm 70, until I'm like crusty and decrepit. I'm going now. And the environment. Where are you living? Are you living in a piece of crap place because you're saving money? Or are you actually living in a great place? And ultimately, the biggest one is the contribution. What is your life's purpose? What are you doing? What are you going to speak? Because if most people, you give them a bunch of money, you say you're done, you're retired, they go, great, they'll be dead in 3 years. You need some purpose. You need the contribution for other people. It can't just be about your consumption, which is the other deadly C. So that's the point of Transformation Nation. It's really about giving people the tools, the ideas, and breaking their framework that will set them free financially.
That's good stuff. You guys have to listen to it. I have been downloading some of the episodes and listened to it. Love it. Absolutely love it. It's become one of my top 3 favorites now, man. Just absolutely love listening to it on a regular basis. So you guys go out there, listen to it. PEEC, correct? Is that how you had it?
That's it.
People, the experiences. What was the second E again?
Environment,
and then the final C, contribution. Right? Love that. That's good stuff, man. That's deep. Now, question is, a younger you understand?
There we go. Back to 20. Oh God. Oh geez. Here we go. Bring it. Make me cry.
What's the biggest advice you would have given your 25-year-old self?
Keep the bald, gray-haired dudes close and listen to them. You don't know what you don't know, and you got to have those people around you to give you feedback. And one of the things that they'll say is, you're going to miss your life if you're obsessed with just the cash. And I can tell you, there are missing decades where I go, what was I doing? And I was whoring myself out for more dollars. And I wasn't focusing on the people. I wasn't focusing on the relationships. I was focusing on transactions. I wasn't focusing on contribution. I was focusing on consumption. My environment, yeah, whatever. It was just about more of everything. And that's what somebody that's been through it, that's wise and stable and sound and principled and present, will actually tell you.
Yeah, I'm having to do that. Keep the gray hairs close.
A lot of wisdom waiting for you, man. If you just listen to them.
Yeah, that's the truth. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people, we get so stuck in our ways, or what do they know? What do they know? They don't know anything. They're not me. They're not in my shoes. God forbid that, oh, history has repeated itself and will repeat itself again out there. And you want to learn from those who've gone through things. That's the lessons that I think our fathers have taught us for years. That's the thing. Like you said, one of the most, probably one of the most inspiring moments is came from a place of pain.
Yeah.
My dad did the same thing when he was old. He's like, I wish I would see this. I wish I was around to do this. I wish I would have done a lot more. And I think that's I hear that voice in the back of my head every time an opportunity presents itself. Well, let's run with it. Let's see what we got available. Let's not say no. Let's say yes and figure out how we do it. Right.
And that's a big part of what happens when you actually listen to people. You'll open space, because you're not going to be fixated on knowing. You're going to be more curious. If you let your curiosity drive you, and ask, well, why? Like one of the mistakes I made was I remember hearing Robert Kiyosaki saying, stop saying you can't afford things. Ask, how can you afford them? Well, I was like, cool. How can I afford this? Well, I afforded everything, and I blew myself up because I was going after everything. I missed the question about why. Like, does this matter? Why does it matter to have a second Ferrari? Like, why am I doing this? And that was where it would have been really helpful to listen to my grandmother. When I remember in 2005, I was with my girlfriend, and we visited, and she sent me a letter, and it was brutal. I mean, she sends me this letter and said, Damion, you should stay single. You're too much of a selfish asshole. You should not be with anybody. And I went, damn, grandma. Like, she just slayed me. And I was like, I had some choice words for her. And then looking back, I was like, wow, she was right. And it was when I realized that she was right, I could start asking, well, what's the problem? Well, obviously the problem is me. What do I do differently? Because I'm not going to ever be in a relationship if I'm going to be that guy. And she saw it. It was so obvious to her. So that's why you're right. Listening to these people is going to be a differentiator, because we're too full of ourselves, and we're too right and too righteous, and just listening and shutting our mouth and opening our ears and saying, maybe everything I think is wrong. Maybe not. But how are you going to know unless you start listening?
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the beautiful things, that you've got 20 years of experience in martial arts, and I'm sure that's got to help out with the dedication and the consistency of doing something for 20 years of becoming an expert. You've got the 10,000 hours of experience of things like that, of doing that on a regular basis. So how did you kind of create your own martial arts in Yokido? And talk a little about that.
It's a funny thing when you spend 10,000 hours. I was talking about this teaching recently and at an event, and I said, we were talking about the 10,000 hours with Malcolm Gladwell and kind of the mastery process. And I said, I've probably am somewhere around 20,000 hours at this point. And it's funny when you spend 10,000 hours doing something pops out of you that's sort of a new creation. It's like this, I don't know, it's spontaneously you birth something. Well, I birthed Yokido, and it was because all of me came out in something that was unique. It wasn't just me regurgitating something. That's the value in finding people that have gone deep into anything. You find something unique. If somebody's gone off the surface and they've spent a little bit of time, you're just going to see the same thing. It's most books out there, most self-improvement books, personal development, real estate books, they're all the same crap. What I look for is I want somebody's deep emotional story baked into that thing. I want to understand something new. The information's all the same, but the stories are different and the essence is different. And so that's what Yokido was. It was the essence of me taking Aikido, yoga, and Reiki and baking these all together and then saying, okay, well, what is this? Well, this is an art about blending, and it's about healing people in that process. It's not about conflict. It's about releasing conflict. It's about going into relationship and not only avoiding the conflict and the fight, but actually healing the opposition, healing the person or the thing that's the problem. And that's very different because most people aren't thinking about healing anything. They're thinking about defending themselves. And so this is a shift past that. And so it's sort of interesting that it shows up now because it's who I am. Yokido is really truly who I am. It shows up in everything I do. So when I work with people on their retirement or their money, they don't realize it, but they're in the middle of a dojo, of a martial arts practice. We're actually doing Yokido. They just think it's about finances and profits and losses. So surprise.
I love it, man. That is so good. When are you going to have a book come out on it, man?
There's actually a book coming out next year on the essence of what this is, the philosophy of Yokido, and it bakes in a lot of the financial ideas and philosophies so that people can understand from this perspective how to start shifting their awareness so that they can show up and sort of have a walking Aikido, walking Yokido, a walking flow and interaction with everything they do. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun for people to see and experience and go deep into that space. It'll be unlike anything they've ever read before, I promise.
I don't doubt it, man. I don't doubt it for a second. So what's the best way for people to get a hold of you? Reach out to you, email, social media, obviously not Facebook Messenger. We were joking beforehand about, distant messages suddenly showing up from, months ago. I had the same thing happen to me as well, with people like sending messages and like, where the hell did this one come from? It's like 6 weeks old, but sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I feel bad because people will send me a message and they're all excited and I get excited to see them, but then I don't see them for 6 or 8 weeks because I don't spend hardly any time on social media. Like, I'll share what's going on, I'll tweet it, but I don't spend a lot of time there. I'm too busy creating and serving people. And I don't think most of us do a whole lot of good by just retweeting all the time and just staying obsessed with feeds on social media. I think that drains the life energy out of us. I don't think we have the creativity that gets unleashed if we spend all our time on somebody else's platform building up their net worth. Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, this is not what I'm here for. So if you want to reach out to me, go to DamionLupo.com, send me a message directly, and I'm all over it. I mean, I love to connect with people. That way you'll actually get to me and I'll get back to you. So that's the best way. And that's where I actually live, there in my space where I can create and share what I am with the world. Where
in Africa are you going to look at gorillas?
One of the last places that I think it's the only place they're at in Rwanda, Uganda, that region. I don't know how many are left, but it's not that many. It's one of those things where you've got to understand that a lot of these things that you want to do on your bucket list, there's a window where they're not even going to be available. And this may be one of those. And I don't know what it is for you guys that are watching, but the truth is that bucket list, probably you need to start booking stuff and not just looking at it. So this was something the opportunity popped up. It was on my bucket list. And I said, yes, literally 5 seconds after I got the email saying, I've got a trip going on. Do you want to go? And I said, yep, in. Didn't care when, didn't care how much, just said I'm in, because I know that life is short. When you have those moments where somebody looks back and says, I wish I could have done more things, there were things I missed out on, you stop hesitating. You go all in, you pull the trigger. That's what life is now, pulling the trigger.
And I think that's a great place to end this episode. Pulling the trigger, taking action, going out and doing things, not sitting back on what you think, go out, surround yourself with good people and make it happen, right?
That's right.
Good stuff, man. Well, hey, you be safe out there. I want to see some of those photos. All right. Just make sure, they're a little big. I don't know how close you can get to them. You might look like a lunch to them. All right. A little bit there. So be careful there. All right.
Or a toy, giant toy. You're submissive. Be really.
There you go.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm going to go into Yokido right here. Not doing anything.
Yeah. It's my little ball of, oh my gosh, what is going on? Yeah.
That's the dude. That's so awesome. So excited for you, Damion. Once again, man. Check him out. Go Transformation Nation podcast. Check him out at DamionLupo.com. Just an absolute joy to have you here on the Note Closure Show today, Damion. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
Anytime, man. We'll talk to you later when you get back. All right, give me a holler.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. Like Damion said, don't sit back and have regrets. Go back and have victories. Go have things that you do. Check off your bucket list. Go make things happen. And trust me, you'll be a lot happier out there achieving the 4 peaks. Surround yourself with good people, experiences. Damn it all. The second E again. What was it again?
Environment.
Environment. That's it. And contributions. You'll be a lot happier. All right, guys. See you all at the top, everybody. Bye.